Hey guys, my name is Leja, but you can call me Lay. Welcome back to A Little Atypical, where we talk all things wellness, personal development, and lifestyle topics. By the time you're hearing this, it will be March 27th. Basically, the month of March is over, and this episode will be a continuation of last week. Originally, I was going to have this as a section for last week, but upon editing it, it was just way too long. So instead of scrapping it completely, I figured I would just make minor adjustments. So if you haven't listened to episode 48, I highly recommend you do that first and then come back because it provides context for the following. The only revisions I made from last week is this intro and how I close off. So be sure to stay until the end because I have an update for you all right after the card pull. And now let's get into the ins and outs I have been using to shift my identity, and I hope this inspires your own ins and outs to help you too. In short, I really want to be out of the reflective phase because it leads to perfectionism and rumination of things I really want to just move on from. I want to be a little more in flow instead of falling into systems of productivity that I'm used to, and also get re-inspired and change my relationship with things that I either start to resent because of my schedule or things I cut loose, not because I didn't enjoy them, but because of the restrictions I had on myself because of my beliefs, especially with my beliefs of time management. So moving on. For my first in, I put changing my relationship with learning and practicing self-education. This one became a focus for me in 2025. I remember coming across this comment on a video when someone joked about adulthood being reduced to two main paths, grad school or running a marathon. It made me laugh because while exaggerated, it carried some truth. People often choose these paths because they symbolize discipline and contribute to a sense of success. As I reflected, I realized our choices in adulthood often depend on what we might have missed out on in our younger years. For instance, those who lacked financial resources growing up might now pursue activities they couldn't before, like figure skating or gymnastics, or they might take a leap towards fulfilling a long-held dream such as becoming an author or starting a business. For me, the journey became about redefining my relationship with learning after my formal education years. Balancing academics with other aspects of my life was a struggle. There came a point when I lost my why. School began to feel like another box to check off. Now, learning at my own pace and choosing topics that spark my curiosity, that has been incredibly fulfilling. It's a completely different experience when the goal is simply to gain knowledge and develop skills, free from the pressures and competitive environment of traditional education. In school, I often felt like I had to prove myself, but now learning feels like a gift I give to myself rather than a performance for others. My second in is infusing my 12-week year with a micro challenge. So I've been following the 12-week year framework since either 2022 or 2023, but this year it feels like the first time I'm truly making meaningful progress thanks to integrating elements of spirituality. In 2024, I had templates set up, but it wasn't until last spring that I discovered lunar living, which added a new layer of alignment to my practices. This year, I want to take it a step further by incorporating the artist way into my routine. Although I attempted it in 2023, I want to revisit it now during this period of restructuring my life. It feels like the perfect blend of challenge and inspiration, complementing the structure I've been refining with its 12 weeks of activities and prompts, providing a clear and creative direction. My next in is revising my view on work and my ideal profession. This has been something I've been thinking about, and you know how as an adult there are just some professions you never knew about or thought about. So a lot of the content I'm consuming at the moment is changing how I look for what I want to do in my life. To be specific, there has been a lot of mindset shifts over work and figuring out life's purpose, but I feel like when I have my full interpretation, I would love to share it. And the last in I listed is learning more about the topic of grief to prevent further rumination. I haven't started this one because this was more of a recent realization, but I always have this fascination with things like emotion and the way it plays a role in our life, because I know, because of the Enlightenment period, we believe logic is the only idea for reasoning. But I also think if we learn how to balance both perspectives of logic and fact with emotions and feelings, that our solutions to situations would be balanced and level-headed. In terms of what I was feeling, I realized recognizing it for what it is helps me make more informed decisions about what approach I should do to solve what I am perceiving as something keeping me stagnant. So my current outs, first one is overthinking, overanalyzing every situation. Avoiding new experiences due to fear and uncertainty and the belief that being overwhelmed is just who I am has limited my growth and stopped me from embracing opportunities for personal development. In some ways, I have been fortunate. I've never had decisions about my life forced on me, but having so much choices often led me to overthink and select paths based on whether they fulfilled a sense of responsibility, like achieving financial security, rather than would they truly align with me. I would analyze endlessly, weighing pros and cons and wonder if I could tolerate the choice, but that approach didn't make me decisive. Knowing the positives and the negatives is important, but decisiveness comes from choosing and committing. Only through making decisions we can manifest change, and letting go of this habit has created space for curiosity, exploration. Next, holding on to perfectionist tendencies. Perfectionism often leads to unrealistic expectations and self-imposed pressure to always be doing something productive. I've noticed this especially when it comes to content creation. I'll spend so much time second guessing every detail, whether it's the wording, the structure, or the pacing of something, that I end up stalling my progress entirely. What starts off as a well meaning attempt to create something polished often becomes a trap, where the pressure to make it perfect hinders my ability to execute. At one point, I realized this wasn't just affecting my creative process, but also stalling momentum for other goals I'm passionate about, ones that I truly want to invest my time and energy into. So, letting go of perfectionism has been less about lowering my standards and more about finding balance. It's about creating space for ambition alongside with self-compassion. When I allow myself to embrace imperfections, I find it easier to move forward, to create freely, and to sustain the growth and creativity that ultimately matters more than any unrealistic ideals I'm chasing. This shift has not only lightened the emotional weight of creating, but has also helped me channel my energy into making meaningful progress on goals that are deeply aligned with my values. Next, as I mentioned, following strict routines that no longer serve my current lifestyle. So, clinging to outdated routines can hinder adaptability and prevent personal growth. Letting go of these routines opens up opportunities for flexibility and allows a person to align better with shifting priorities and goals. Recently, I embraced a habit of staying active throughout the day instead of forcing all activity into one scheduled session. This change helped me sustain energy for other tasks without feeling drained. Previously, I structured my routine around the notion of preparing for if I was to ever get a corporate job, but I realized that I don't need to operate from that perspective. Instead, I can focus on what works best for my current lifestyle and priorities. The last one, the need to constantly explain or justify my decisions to others. Defensive responses when feeling misunderstood and comparing my progress to others both stem from a desire for external validation, which often leads to unnecessary stress and detracts from focusing on my journey. By letting go of these behaviors, I can foster a greater self-assurance, embrace self-acceptance, and make decisions that align with my values, bringing me closer to the authentic and confident person I want to be. So to wrap this episode up, here are some journal prompts for mental declutter that really helped me in my progress, and you can create your own ins and outs. You can come up with your own insights, but these are some questions that really put things into perspective. Which aspects of my identity feel burdensome and no longer serve me? And how can I let them go with a purpose? What recurring beliefs or inner dialogues might be silently shaping my actions? And how can I challenge them to foster growth? Which moments from my past still hold emotional weight, and what lessons or gratitude can I uncover to transform them into wisdom? What are the top 3 values or traits I want to embody, and how can I integrate them into my daily decisions? What are the top 3 values or traits I want to embody, and how can I integrate them into my daily decisions? How can I create space for transformative experiences or relationships that nurture my personal evolution and align with my vision for the future? If I were living in harmony with my authentic self, how would my choices, habits, and interactions reflect this alignment? What habits or routines are no longer serving me, and how can I replace them with practices that align with my goals? What fears or doubts might be holding me back, and how can I approach them with courage and self-compassion? What does success look like for me personally, and how can I measure it in ways that reflect my values? In what areas of my life am I seeking external validation, and how can I turn inward to find fulfillment? So that is all for this episode, and now for our self-care based card pull. 55, write a gratitude list. Mantra, I am grateful. Ultimately, the only thing we can fully control is our thoughts. To call in good vibes, write a list of things that you're grateful for. It can be for any given day or just a general list of the good stuff in life. Reflect on past difficult situations to uncover the lessons that were hidden in them. Feel gratitude for how everything has evolved to land you where you are now. Practicing gratitude allows us to shift back to the present moment and recognize how divinely orchestrated life truly is. Holding on to resistance and expectations keeps us attached to our suffering. When we take a time to consistently and authentically express our appreciation for others, we receive gratitude in return. This process creates a beautiful cycle of positivity that propels us forward and into a more positive and stable experience of life. Journal prompt. What are you grateful for? How can you show more gratitude daily? Honestly, I loved it because, I always have to do what I'm grateful for at the end of each episode. But for now, I need to get into the announcement. So I have really grown so much since consistently posting this podcast. It has helped me express what I needed to, as well as pushed my skills into growth. So since I know I want to take a break from long form while I focus on different aspects of life for the month of April, as well as wrapping up other aspects of content, aka the show notes. I talk a bit about this in my monthly wrap-up that I've been doing since January. But to summarize, I have just been feeling like every time I listen to those old episodes and then need to create content to expand on it, it brings older perspectives into what are supposed to be newer thoughts and ideas. I feel like if I just focus on the blog and focus on developing my skills in short form content on YouTube, the content to follow would be a lot more aligned with my postgraduate self instead of constantly reusing perspectives from a time when I functioned so differently. Like if you listen to older episodes, I feel like I internalize stuff a lot more. I was a little more high strung in the way I did things. And I feel like that version of me has fallen away. But sometimes when I listen back, it just feels like I am keeping that version of myself alive and well. Ideally, I plan on bringing back the podcast for the week of May 12th, but that only works if I follow my posting schedule to the T. But honestly, I believe I can do it because of how in this past month, it kind of showed me, like, even with the unpredictability, I could stay on track, and I have the capability to follow through on the things that I say I'm gonna do. So I just need to give myself the space and kind of focus on what I know that works within that process very well, plus applying the new skills I've been learning from my coursework. That's another big reason why a break just makes the most sense for me. Once it is closer to May, I'll decide if I'm going to go back to posting on Mondays or if I'll keep the Thursdays, because both are good depending on the platform I'm referencing to. But regardless, I just wanted to share this because as a creator, if I could give a heads up about whether I'm taking a long break or not, I will. I also felt like to have the 50th episode feels more significant for May anyways than April. And lastly, what I'm grateful for is that we are in a new season and I get to reset my goals for round 2 of my 12-week year. Don't get me wrong, I think round 1 was definitely so much more progressed than last year, but it still left so much room for improvement, and I'll talk about that more in a blog post. But I guess I'm extremely excited for the opportunity to try things differently from March 30th to whatever date in June. That's it, my friends. You're a real one for making it to the end. Thank you for tuning into this episode of A Little Atypical. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share with someone who might need to hear this message. Remember, view the description box where you can find important links, such as the one to my website where there is so much more content, bonus content. Until next time, have a good day, evening, or night, and stay authentically atypical. Okay, bye.